Wouldn't it be great if I could combine Dungeons and Dragons and martial arts? And the dude, Kevin, he's like, actually, come outside with me for a second. And I'm like, all right, sure. I had no idea what to expect. And we go to his car, and he opens up his trunk, and there's a shield and two swords and a flail in the trunk. And they're padded, you know. And I'm like, what is this? This is like LARPing stuff? And he's like, no, dude, now here. And he hands me this sword. And he's like, this is different. This is full combat. Hit me as hard as you want.
Nice, Wade. Nice. Much better.
Most people, just to make it easier on themselves, call it a LARP because that's most easily understandable. It has a lot of differences from most LARPs though. It's more, one term that never really caught on, people call it live action battle gaming. And like I said, it never really caught on, but it is more of a battle than a role play.
There's fundamental discomfort with what we do. I think that stems from the fact that this is a hobby that's so full of people who were teased in high school because they were geeks, because they were dorks, because they liked to play Dungeons and Dragons, because they, could name every elf in Rivendell before they could name a single member of the Eagles' offensive line.
It's a weird place. It's a place where you can either grope a lot or not grope at all. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've smacked around a lot of nerves. And it really is. It's a great place to learn who you are, who you want to be, even if it's an elf running around, jumping out of trees and stuff. But someone's got to be that guy. You might want to be that guy. If so, that's cool. Everyone wants to do their own thing, but it's a great culture. Everyone has the problem, one of the big problems with this, everyone's got the perfect version of it. Everyone's got what they'd like DAG to be. And no one's going to always have their way, so it's about finding that happy medium where everyone has a good time.
Then you've got your stick jocks, which I'm a part of, pretty much. Your stick jocks are your sport fighters. They look at the game as a martial art who we want to study fighting, different styles of fighting, to get as good as we possibly can so that we can kill you and win as often as possible. For us, that's more fun than just going out there, not really knowing how to fight, and just throwing ourselves at a shield wall and dying. No, we want to be the ones who are the best fighters. We study the fighting aspects of the game. We seek each other out in the field. It's almost like if you're thinking of like the Iliad or like the Odyssey. Well, the Iliad especially, like the Trojan War, and you hear in the poem the stories of the heroes, like the epic fighters, who everyone else would like either stop fighting around them or kind of like go off to the side, and you've got like Hector and Achilles would just kind of square off, and it's almost like the rest of the battle just ceases to exist because now the two heroes are fighting each other. That gives a whole other level of glory, of that kind of like just epic feeling. It's wonderful. Like you almost like hear in your head like a soundtrack going off, and then no matter who wins in fights like that, you kind of nod at your opponent afterward and say that was a really good fight. Like that was an awesome, like a good fight. Like you feel so good about that. And that actually leads towards a bond, because then you get to talk a little bit about how good the fight was, and usually that leads to hanging out after the fighting for the day, having a few beers and having a good time afterward and hanging out. You make some friends that way too.
Sport fighters are stick jocks, and they're people who want to win one-on-one as a game. They view Dagger here as just a game to play. Some people will say stick tag. I think stick tag's it's a little dismissive. But they view it as a game, as a rule set. That the clothes, it's like golf. With golf you need to wear your polo shirt and your goofy little shorts. With Dagger here you need to wear your tunic and your foofy pants. It's the uniform to them, maybe they like fantasy, maybe they like D&D, but on a fundamental level, they're not really playing pretend. They're a modern guy, who's dressed in a certain way, because that's the admission ticket. You have to dress a certain way to play the game. So, or maybe at some point they were into the fantasy, but the game itself, the rules, the mechanics, just really click with them, and that's what they want to do. And those people will tend to look for gear that's, just shy of that line, because it's, perceived as advantageous.
But you can still get plenty of power in the Clubhouse by that. But you can do some things that are more reminiscent of like a Soul Calibur style video game with your fighting style, and pull off moves that would never have been possible with real swords. But we know this is not really an attempt to be a historical reenactment of actual medieval fighting. We know that this is a game with its own set of rules, and we seek to maximize our advantage in that so we can win at fighting within the context of what dagger here is, which is basically just fighting each other with padded sticks. It's medieval paintball.
I'm actually, honestly, I'll be dead honest.
I've got nothing.
Yeah.
I was really surprised you were going to
Square down.
I was like, no.
Some new kid with Rob's big ass red, the dragon tail or whatever, came square down on my head. Well, it's I don't have any.
No, it was wrong.
Probably not the right one.
I didn't hit you in the neck today.
But it's with Sarmatia, it's more than just it's more than just a stick jock hobby. It's a whole quasi-medieval culture, and that's one of the strengths that Sarmatia brings. Is because we don't just treat it like a foam sport. We do a reenactment, but it's not historical because DAG isn't about history. So it allows us to bring some fictional, I don't want to say fantasy, but fictional elements in.
Flexible history.
Yeah, that
I like it.
that makes it a richer experience. And that's why we do it, to add to the experience. So that when you dressed funny, there's more of a reason.
Beauty about being in dagger here is you can school yourself in many different weapon types. I can pick up a large two-handed red, big axe, lots of swings. Switch it out, two-handed sword, much more nimble, still enough to break a shield and to stab when needed. Sword and shield. Reasonable size shield. Nice, quick, light. Able to attack anything. Small sword and shield. Lightweight, easy to run up on. Or Florentine. Two swords, nice and quick, lots of damage.
The most accurate thing I do to my persona on the field is I am big about insisting that the people who take the field with me work in some sort of organization. And we do practice this outside of big events. We practice at least once a week. Working, marching, fighting in formation. We do drills like you'd do for anything else to build muscle memory. And so I insist that they do act as professional soldiers, not just, we are a war band of guys, hey, let's go charge that, let's go get them. No, I'm not really interested in that at this point in my life, at this point in my fighting career. I want to be part of a group of professional soldiers, and I want to portray that on the field. So that's what we do. Specifically, we use tactics that aren't really applicable to my historical persona. Basically, it's impossible to do tactics that will be applicable to my historical persona because a Druzina was cavalry. And, you know, I can't bring a horse onto the field. So, you know, kind of cock block that way. But what I do is tactics that work. We fight as a block of heavily armed spear infantry with broad shields. And I will say that we've never been broken from.
Ready? Alright, yo, bring it to him. Lay up!
My unit leader calls it a pack mentality. I don't know how strictly speaking accurate that is, but it's good enough. It's close enough. It's that mentality of being part of a group, not just owing something to the group, but having something owed to you, and that, you know, that loyalty and that sense of camaraderie. And you do it long enough, and it almost becomes family. As you know, but it's not. I was about to say it's cheesy, but it's not, because I've been working with, you know, the people in my household for some of them 7 years, and if you're not getting close with someone you're working with for 7 years, I question that relationship. So, you know, there are people who just look for that, who they don't really care about persona. They do like to win, but they really want to belong to something. Those people, absolutely welcome them under my banner, because they're the ones who, you know, who make up the core. They're the ones who will be there every week because you're giving them that little fix.
We're so happy and that's how we're gonna stay singing. Do-a-diddy-diddy-dum-diddy-do. And I'm hers, she's mine, I'm hers, she's mine. Wedding bells are gonna chime.